physics problem. There is a record, you know, the vinyl kind, and it's on a record player, and then there's a penny, a coin, sitting on the record player. Turn on the record player, it starts to spin, it speeds up. And the question is, will the coin fall off, slip off the track, off the record? And if so, when? Okay, so here's my record, there's my coin, it's spinning this way, right? I gave the mass of the coin as 2.5 grams, that's how you know it's a penny. It's somewhere around there. The coefficient of static friction is 0.01, and then the record player starts at 0 and ends up at 78 RPM in 2.2 seconds. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is just to say, well, how fast would the record player have to go in order for the penny to fall off? So if the penny falls off, coin, I guess it's a coin, if the coin falls off, then the net force on it, the friction force, would have to be just barely enough to keep it moving in a circle. So let's just draw this from the top. Here's my coin right there, and so there would be a friction force this way, and then it's rotating that way. Now, that's a Newton's second law problem. We're dealing with forces, we're dealing with acceleration. It's accelerating because it's moving in a circle. So let's go ahead and draw a force diagram for the coin. Here's my coin. I have a downward, we're looking at it from the front now. I have a downward gravitational force mg. I have an upward normal force n. And now, what force makes it move at this point, move this way, accelerate this way toward the center? That would be that friction force right there. And it's static friction, so I'm just going to put FF. And I'm going to call this my x direction. I'm going to call that my y direction. Okay, now we can get to business. So the net force in the y direction is equal to 0, right? The coin does not accelerate up or down, so that's 0. So that's going to be equal to n minus mg. And you can see right here that n equals mg. I think this is a really important step. You know, there are so many cases where the normal force is equal to mg, but if you just go n equals mg, 1, you're not showing all your work. 2, what about those times when it's not? See, you're going to get yourself in trouble. Now I can do the net force in the x direction. There's only one, and it's the component of friction is in the negative x direction. I'm going to put that, negative FF, and that's going to be negative MAC. So we're assuming it's accelerating towards the center of the circle, centripetal acceleration, which is in the negative x direction the way I drew it right there. Okay, so what is the magnitude of the acceleration? Acceleration centripetal would be v squared over r, or omega squared r. Those are the same things. Remember, v equals omega r, so you can get it that way. We don't care about the velocity. I care about the angular velocity. That's what I'm going to find. So I'm going to put that in for that. And let's use our model for friction. F, this is the maximum, is the coefficient of static friction times the normal force, right? Because the static friction force is a force of constraint. It applies whatever it needs to up to this value. But we're looking at right when it starts to slip, so that's what we want to use. So if I put this in for the friction, this in for the acceleration, I get mu s n, but n is mg, mg equals m omega squared r. And I want to solve for omega. Mass cancels, doesn't matter what the mass of the penny is, and I get omega is going to be the square root of mu sg over r. Okay, let's just double check real quick. Coefficients for mu, it doesn't have any. G would be in meters per second squared, and if I divide that by the radius in meters, I get 1 over second squared, and then when I take the square root, I get 1 over seconds. Omega is in radians per second, and radians not really a unit. So that the units work. That's the point. Let's just go ahead and figure out what this is. Square root of 0.1 times 9.8 divided by, oh, I didn't give that r. It was in my problem. R is 5 centimeters. So 0.05 meters. So 0.05. I don't do square roots very well in my head, so I'm going to plug this in. Okay. 0.1, enter, 9.8 times 0.05 divided by square root. I get 4.42. radians per second. So is that less than this? If it's not less than 78 RPM, then we have a problem, right? Well, we don't have a problem. It just will never fall off. It won't go fast enough in order to fall off. What we need to do is to take this and convert it to radians per second, so we can compare. Omega final, I'm going to call it that, just not confused with that. That is the Greek letter omega. It's 78. R means revolutions. P means per, and M is minute. So the first thing I want to do is I want to convert revolutions into radians. So I know that 1 revolution, so I'm going to put that on the bottom, is equal to 2 pi radians, right? Once around the circle is 2 pi radians. So if I multiply by 2 pi over 1 revolution, that's the number 1. It's a fraction equal to 1 because these two are the same thing. So I'm not changing really my value. I'm just changing the units, and the revolutions cancel. Okay, now I need to change minutes into seconds. So I know that 1 minute, I'm going to put it on the top so that it'll cancel, is 60 seconds. You know, I see a lot of people think, oh, let's see, if I want to convert to seconds, I divide by 60 or multiply by 60. Wait, I can't remember. So be careful. That's why it's very useful just to write it down. And you can see minutes cancel. Okay, so I get 78 times 2 pi over 60 radians per second. And let's calculate what that is. Can't see. 78 2 pi 60. And this is 8.16 radians per second. So you can see right here that this is indeed less than that. So it will slip off before it reaches full speed. Okay, now the question is, what time does it fall off? So now we can use our rotational kinematic equations. Remember, we have this, theta 0 plus omega 0 t plus 1/2 alpha t squared. So alpha is our angular acceleration. It's how fast the angular velocity changes. Omega is the angular velocity, how fast the angle changes. Okay, I don't really care about these thetas. I do care about time, though. So if I pick what that is, it starts at angle of theta equals 0. I can't find that. I mean, I don't really care, okay? I don't know alpha, but I can find alpha. So I know up here that I can use the other kinematic equation, omega 0 plus alpha t. So if I know the starting angular velocity, I do. If I know the final angular velocity, I do. If I know the time, I do. I can solve for alpha. So alpha, this is 0. So alpha is going to be omega over t. Now be very careful with this statement, right? This is really omega minus omega 0 over t minus 0. Okay, so it's really a change in. It's not just 2 data points. But that's 0 and that's 0, 0, 0. So that's why it looks like that. So, and that's omega final. So now I know alpha. I can find out how long it takes to get to this. So let's call this omega f. No, that's for fall. Omega c for the coin. And this is omega f. So now I'm going to start at angular velocity of 0. So the final omega c, that's when it falls off, is going to be the starting angular velocity, omega 0, plus alpha times tc, the time it takes the coin to fall off. And I can put this in over here, starts at rest, so I get 0 plus omega final over t final, that's my t final right there, times tc. So if I want to solve for tc, I need to multiply and divide by this. So I get tc equals omega c times tf over omega f. So let's put that in there. So omega c was 4.42. Tf was 2.2. I don't like that too close. And then the final omega was 8.16. So we get a time of 4.42, 2.2 times 8.16 divided by 1.19 seconds. The end.